Yeah, welcome to another edition of the M365 FM podcast. My guest is Edgar McOchieng today, and he is a data and AI engineer, Microsoft MVP for Microsoft Foundry and business application based in Nairobi. Um, and he also run his own labs, and I'm interested in it's you're a community builder. Can you tell a little bit about your community?
Thank you so much, Macron. So, thank you once again. My name is Edgar. I'm the Microsoft MVP in Microsoft Foundry and business applications. So, one thing I go with this mantra like I always love to mentor people and to uplift people. So, this with my colleagues, we started our own labs here in Kenya. So basically, we wanted to train uh, campus students and early graduates, so the people who just graduated from campus and they want to improve their skills and test uh, this enterprise grade uh, knowledge and to gain. Yeah, so we started the Makocheng Labs and currently we are running Ujuzi Hub. So Ujuzi is a Swahili name for land to land, so that Ujuzi. So Ujuzi Hub, we have it majorly to train these campus students, mostly in Microsoft platform. So we have the low code, which are the business application apps, so the Power Platform, where we have Power Apps and Power Pages Copilot Studio. Then we have the data platform, which is the Microsoft Fabric, and we have the now the Pro Code, where we have the developer tools and Microsoft Foundry as a full Pro Code language. So we ensure that all of our mentees have access to this application so that they can be able to train, learn, and actually build and break stuff. So that's a brief overview of Makochen Labs.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, also I say you have find all the links in the show notes, so it's you'll be able to look at the page. But today our
Yeah.
topic is building and deploying product grade AI agents with Foundry. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Microsoft Azure and yeah, the AI related services?
Okay. So I started learning Microsoft products when I was in campus. So that was back in 2022. I was very curious actually to know how I can be able to build using. Actually, that time I was so focused in Azure. So cloud computing was, when you're in campus, everyone tells you, you need to learn anything about cloud computing. So we had AWS and Azure, and I was actually loved Azure. So I started learning Azure back in campus, and when I graduated, that's now when I started the Microsoft Foundry road. So uh, I have experience both in data and AI. So I I can say like 5 years of experience and I've built applications. So this application basically we have the African stack where we create African products. So for example, we have uh, the e-commerce. Kenya has a very large e-commerce system where we have small business people who want to create uh, the e-commerce website, the e-commerce platform, and we always use our mobile banking, which is M-Pesa. So building up and integrating with our M-Pesa, that's the major thing that most businesses focus in Kenya. So apart from that, I also build worldwide application. So I'm from AMLI. So AMLI is an uh, organization that is based in America. I work remotely. So I've been able to create applications for clients, basically AI applications. Yeah. So that has been experience. And yeah,
Can you tell a little bit more about the AI and generative AI things you have implemented in those platforms?
yeah. So the biggest project that I've done in the last 2 years. So at Family, we built the Mela AI. Mela is our internal AI application. So the idea behind Mela AI was to create an AI system that is enterprise and suited for a particular organization. So it can be able to know each and everything that your organization does. It is connected to your enterprise knowledge. So, for example, if you're a Microsoft partner or you use Microsoft ecosystem, so our Mela connects to SharePoint. You can be able to pull in data from SharePoint. You can be able to, using now Graph connectors, you can be able to now connect to the Outlook, connect to the Outlook, connect to OneDrive, connect to yeah, basically any information that you have in your Microsoft ecosystem, Mela I can be able to retrieve them. Apart from that, we connect using anything that now is beyond Microsoft. So let's say you have your data in the Google Cloud or AWS, you can be able to pull them in. So basically what we do for Mela, it's a RAG application. So it can be able to help you find data whenever you, let's say, most organizations actually have data that is scattered everywhere. So having this AI application that you can just query and it can give you the direct location where that document is found. You can basically ask any question about your organization, the procedures, you can request for leads and everything. So that's Mela. And apart from that, Mela has a lot of capabilities where you can be able to bring uh, local models or cloud models. So for the past year, we've noticed that the cost of AI has been actually going skyrocket. Uh, this is something that we've experienced personally, and I have experienced it. So when the cloud hype came, we actually connected cloud as one of the LLM that we use in Mela AI. So apparently, when we had that API and LLM connected to Mela, most of our employees were using cloud, and our cost for cloud actually that month it actually skyrocketed a lot. So it was a lesson that I actually learned, and our organization it learned in a bad way, but we had to, mistakes makes you learn, and it helps you solve them. So how we try to solve this whenever these cloud models get uh, the high cost, because the cloud models actually the cost can be quite high. So we created a local model. So this local model can be run either locally in your own PC, or we can let it run in cloud. So in Foundry we have the Foundry hosted agents where we can be able to host those agents to run directly on cloud. We train them and we now expose the endpoint. So when this endpoint we connect back to Mela, and you will be able to use this LLM pretty much for free. So that has been my experience. So we have the ability where you can be able to create a local model, connect it to our application. Now it becomes hybrid, and hybrid. Honestly, I felt like hybrid has been the biggest game changer in Mela AI, where we have the ability to switch. So we have that uh, orchestration layer where whenever someone has a question, our AI actually chooses which model is the best to respond to. So if the work is not complex, it will automatically switch to local models so that it keeps that cost low. And when we have something so complex that our employees want to actually do, it now switches model. So that has been my experience using the AI.
Oh, it's really interesting. Yesterday, I have also talked about pricing. Can you say how big was the decrease in pricing for the project for Mela AI?
Actually, it decreased drastically because now it was actually quite expensive. The first 3 months where we connected the Anthropic models, we had Opus and Sonnet connected. So whenever our employees were using our Mela AI, they always opted for these Anthropic models. So the first month was just for testing because now we opened it up to a test group. So we have a department for just purely testing. So they went on and you know as we say in Amli, we eat our own dog shit. So they went, broke it, tried and tested everything just to make sure that it was working very well. So what ended up happening is the cost went pretty high. So when we noticed that that cost actually was high and maintaining that cost for 1 year, actually it would be so damaging. So there are two things we actually did. So the first thing we did was actually having a hybrid model. So a hybrid model is where we now connect a local model to and a cloud model. So it switches. So whenever task is low, uses local model. Whenever we have a task that is much complex, now it switches to the cloud model. And the second now was now rate limiting. And this is very important and rate limiting in AI applications. So we have the ability to govern the usage of the AI model. So we have rate limiting in cloud models. So it can be either the GPT models, the Anthropic models, or the Gemini models. So we can be able to uh, monitor the usage. So whenever a usage spikes high, we throttle the usage of that application. So that user will mostly find that that session will actually expire and they will not notice it sometime because it will now switch to a lower model. So that helped a lot because now we were able now to put a budget. So now this is the backend side. Uh, each user has a budget for each model that they use. So let's say, for example, they are using the Anthropic models, and we have a budget for a user, let's say, $10 a month. So they cannot exceed that $10, uh, that $10. So whenever they get $10, it will get switched and they will use the GPT models.
Okay, this sounds awesome. Thank you. Um, let's a little bit jump more into Azure AI Foundry fundamentals. So,
Uh-huh.
what is Microsoft AI Foundry, and what business problems do it solve?
So in Microsoft Foundry, this is how I can explain it. I can say it's a model playground. So whenever you want to play with this application to play with the models, it's a platform where you can create uh, AI application either uh, in a low code manner or in a fully low code manner. So it has a lot of capabilities where uh, it's a full infrastructure that you can be able to actually get any model that you want. So it has the Anthropic models, it has the GPT models, the Mistral. So the model marketplace. So whenever you want to test a particular model, you can always go there, search for a particular model, and actually it has a list so you can see the model that is performing the best. So let me talk about the features of Microsoft Foundry. So in my explanation, Microsoft Foundry is just a model playground. If you want to create a business application or any AI application, either in low code manner or in a pro code manner, you can be able to create it, you can be able to host it. And the thing I love the most about Microsoft Foundry is you have the ability to connect with enterprise connectors. So it has uh, honestly, I've found that Foundry has the best MCPs. Honestly, from my experience, Foundry has the best MCPs. So this helps to connect to your whole ecosystem. So if you have data that is stored in either SharePoint, OneDrive, Outlook, you can be able to bring them in. So they call it the work IQ. So you can be able to bring in all the enterprise knowledge that you have. Apart from that, it also has the enterprise connectors, where you can be able to connect to any data that is outside now the Microsoft uh, ecosystem. So that's one feature that I actually love the most. So apart from that, the next thing that Foundry has is how can I say, the LLM evaluation. So you can have the safety evaluation, where you can control how that LLM is used. So uh, in safety evaluation, now these are the five principles of AI, where we need AI to be transparent, we need it to be safe. Yeah, so that's the evaluation that Microsoft Foundry has. So you can use the guardrails to control how your users can be able to use the LLMs that you have in Foundry. Apart from that, you can be able to fine tune your models. You can be able to create an agentic orchestration. So, an agentic orchestration is, let's say, for example, you have you want to build maybe an ERP system,
Mhm.
and in that ERP system, it has a lot of, an ERP system is a big, a complex system. So you want different capabilities. So you can create different models or different agents to perform a single task. Then we have one agent. So we call it the orchestrator agent that can now call the different worker agents so that they can work all together. So what else I need? Actually, if you leave me to talk about Foundry, I'll just talk all day.
Yeah.
And,
Great.
and please tell me if I go. And most people say that I am always too technical. So whenever you feel I'm technical, you can, yeah, feel free to tell me.
I like it. I like it. It's very, very interesting. I last I've seen there's another product, and I try a little bit to differ it. There's
Mhm.
a Azure AI Foundry, and there is also Azure AI Studio. Can you explain what's the difference?
So it's the Copilot Studio that you're
Okay.
talking about. So uh, there are three products that Microsoft offer. So we
Mhm.
have the three ways you can be able to build agents in Microsoft. So the first one is the M365. So M365, how I can explain it, it's like you see the ChatGPT interface, the cloud interface, that chat interface, that's how the M365 is like. So it's a copilot where you can be able to create agents in you can just give a prompt. I wish I could be sharing my screen. So uh, you can just give a prompt and it can create that agent for you. So that's the first level. So the first level is the simplest level where you just give a prompt and it can be able to create an agent. So after that, we'll go to step two. Step two now is the Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio, it's a low-code environment where you can be able to create agents in no code. It's no code and low code. So no code is you just give it instruction it will go ahead and create that project for you or that agent for you. And if you want to do the pro code, you can be able to actually add in your own code. So that's the Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio can be able also to connect with other enterprise application, other enterprise connectors. So I do this in my labs. So mostly my labs, most of my students are new to the Microsoft ecosystem. So basically, last month we majorly touched on Power Platform. So that was M365, Copilot Studio, and Power
Mhm.
Platform. So now, when you're now fully confident enough, this is where most people differ with Copilot Studio and Foundry. So Copilot Studio is the best. I can say it's the best, but you are confined. It's like you are you're put in a container. You can build anything inside that container, but now when you want to stretch out of the container, you can't because everything. For me, how I felt, everything was confined. So now when you want to be wild, build anything that you want, like your imagination, that's where we go to Microsoft Foundry. So in Microsoft Foundry, this is where you can build anything. Your imagination, whatever you want, you can bring it in. So that's the biggest difference. So the biggest difference between now Copilot Studio, that's the studio, and Microsoft Foundry is, from my experience, uh, Copilot Studio it's the best, but you work within a confined space. So when we move to Foundry now, that's now you have the whole world to you. Now you can feel like, yeah, you are controlling the world. So you can build any application, whether you want it in uh, your in low code or you want to bring your own code, you want to create an application locally and bring it using containerization. That was the Foundry hosted agents. So you can be able to host your agents using now Microsoft Foundry.
And when you think on Azure Foundry, what are the core components of this, uh, I say, tool?
Yeah. So uh, for me, I feel governance is the best.
Hmm.
Governance is the best because now we need to, as a developer, I need to monitor the usage of, first, I need to monitor the usage of my application. I need to see that actually people are not misusing the application. So, whether it works within, like for an organization, uh, let it work for that organization and keeping confidentiality, transparency. So for me, I feel governance is the most important one.
Okay. And I have seen this, I call it prompt flow. Can you explain this a little bit?
So prompt flow, this
Yeah.
is where, uh so how I can explain prompt flow. So prompt flow, this is where you are able to build an application using a prompt. So we have two ways uh, to build application in uh, Microsoft Foundry. The first way is now we have the Microsoft Foundry, that's the front floor, and we have the hosted agents. So in hosted agents, this is where you bring uh, you can build an application locally and now upload it to Azure and it will be hosted. So when we talk about prompt flow, this is where you create an agent, give it your own instructions, connects to different different how can I say how can I say it? You have different connectors
Hmm.
that you can connect to that application. So yeah,
Awesome. You have on the start, you have a little bit tell about different models. Is this the model catalog inside the AI Foundry, or
yeah,
oh,
actually, uh sorry to cut you short.
yeah, I think a little bit. There's this model catalog, and you have
Mhm.
on the start you have tell you have different. Uh, models you use on your system. So is this what you use for it inside?
Y- Yeah. So in Foundry, we have the model catalog. So in model catalog, this is where it has a list of all the uh, LLMs. So any LLM from Anthropic, it has the Sonnet, Haiku, Opus models, it has the GPT models, it has the Llama, the Mistral. So what model, the model market, it's like a marketplace where you can be able to see a list of any model that you want. And you can see how they are performing. So they are always rated. So, for example, this week you may find that Codex is the most performing uh, LLM. So people actually do rate it. So you can be able to see the what uh, Codex is best in this week, the error rates, how is it performing? That's the performance rate. Yeah. So helps it helps to give you a gist or an understanding how it is performing, how you can actually bring it, and from that model catalog, you can actually purchase that those models that you want and now make them run for your application.
Okay. And there are also these evaluation pipelines. Can you tell
Mhm.
a little bit of the purpose of it?
Yeah. So in evaluation, this is now how you test uh, these LLM. So let's say, for example, I've created an application that is supposed to serve like an e-commerce website or an e-commerce platform. So in evaluation now, I can put a list of maybe prompts, a list of questions,
Mhm.
see how it performs. So I can see if a list of expected questions and expected results. So it will help me to actually understand if it's actually meeting my expectation. Let's say, for example, the evaluation is at 80%, which means like it has answered most of the things that the application I built. So first, the evaluation helps us to really test these models. We can evaluate if it can be able. This is now in prompt injection to see if someone can use it for malicious prompts or malicious things that they want. So the next thing you can evaluate the performance. How is it really performing? You can evaluate the hallucination. So, is it accurate enough? Is the response you wanted the thing that you expected? So, the evaluation actually helps us to now actually monitor and see how it's actually performing based on the expected outcome.
Cool. Um, I think it's a, Azure AI Foundry. It's an enterprise solution, so I
Yeah.
think there are more roles like developer, data scientists, security teams. How did you manage collaboration uh, in Azure Foundry?
So, how we do it actually, we have different developers in our team. So, uh, what we do, we use how can I say it? Uh, I've forgotten the best way to explain this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can be able to collaborate. So how we do it in Family is we create projects in Foundry. So we have different projects. So the first thing we do is you create a project, and inside that project, you can be able now to now create agents in that project. So we have access to different employees have access to different platforms. So let's say, for example, I was working on a particular agent. So we have the opportunity to collaborate on that particular agent. Then after it's complete, we have our testing and evaluation team actually who can do all the testing, give us the recommendation. So I think that's how we do it.
Mhm.
And that's how we collaborate inside Microsoft Foundry.
Awesome. Can you a little bit explain the life cycle of an AI application in Azure Foundry?
So the life cycle. So how do we do this? So the first thing is always the research. I'm very, very good in research. So whenever you have an idea, always go out to the research. And now I'll explain to you why this is the best thing that I use in Foundry. So we have VS Code extension in yeah, we can be able to connect to Foundry using VS Code. So the first thing is whenever I have an idea, I do proper research on it. So after doing a research, I create the outline, how I want that project to appear. Then in VS Code, we have now the developer tool. So I use Copilot, the GitHub Copilot. So inside GitHub Copilot now, we have the three modes. So we have the plan mode, we have the ask mode, and we have the agent mode. So uh, it's very important as a developer now because honestly, I feel like these developer tools have been so helpful even to me as a developer because now it helps me now create agents faster. And what I do say is being a good developer, you also need to be a good prompt engineer. So a good prompt always brings the best outcome. So whenever you feel stuck in an idea, I always use the three modes in uh, the Copilot, the GitHub Copilot. So where we have the ask, the ask mode. This is where I always just put in my random ideas. You know what? I did a research on this. This is the outline I came up with. This is the goal I want to achieve, and just now brainstorm using my developer AI. So it always comes up with great ideas. This is how you need to handle this flow. This will be the structure. Now this will be the entire platform. So after I'm done with the ask, I shift to plan. So in plan mode, this is now where it actually does a complete plan. So after a plan is created, I can be able to see this is how we are going to handle the first part, the second part, and until I finish it. So then the last part is the agent part. So in agent, this is where now it starts the actual creation of this application. So whenever it's stuck, I always check the code. Where was it stuck? I can see that now this is the human in the loop part. So whenever it wants an approval to actually do something, I must first verify to see that it's actually what I need. It creates the whole ecosystem. So after it is done, so let's say a simple web application or a simple application, I always do some testing. So that's localhost, check that everything is actually working perfectly. So after which now we go to the deployment. So in deployment, we do two types of deployment. So we do deploy our application in uh, the hosted agents that is in Foundry, and we do host it in Azure. So after which now we have the testing team where we open it up to a small group to do the testing to see that it has actually met everything that we want. And so from that it becomes a life cycle going forward.
Awesome, awesome. So, where did you see the biggest advantages of Azure AI Foundry for enterprises?
So biggest biggest thing that I noticed is uh, I feel hosted agents are a game changer, and here's why. So I'm a big follower of news, and this is my own personal opinion. I'm a big follower of news. And recently, uh, now every developer uses these developer tools, either be it GitHub Copilot or Cloud Code. So recently we had first GitHub Copilot actually removed the Opus uh, from uh, the new application, the student application, and they are actually now in Pro Plus. So
Mhm.
that's one thing I noted. The next thing I noted, okay, it came as a hype, and I think the public backlash actually made them to return it back. So I don't know if you had the rumors of Anthropic removing Cloud Code from its Pro subscription. So
Mhm.
it was a clashback, and due to public demand, they silently gave it back. And why am I talking about this? Uh, Honestly, I can say running this, it feels like we are being rented the AI application, and actually, we don't have the full control. So with time, it becomes expensive. So how do we cut this uh, this cost? Because organization will end up spending a lot and a lot of money
Mm.
in this AI application. So this is where I saw the hosted agents be a game changer. So you can be able using hosted agents, and this is something that I've done testing with, is you can be able to create local models. So let's say, for example, you want to run the Olama models.
Mhm.
So you can be able now to run Olama locally, containerize it, and host it using the hosted agents. So Foundry will do the whole scaling, connectivity, and everything. And enterprises now can use this at a cheaper price. The only thing that they will need to pay for will be the hosting price of their application. So this will be cheaper, and the most benefit is organization will have the control. Like, control is everything. So whenever people have control of how their models are run, how their models are being trained, I feel that's the biggest game changer, because from my perspective, I feel in the next coming 2 3 years, AI is going to be expensive.
Mm. When you think a little bit of designing scalable architecture, what tips can you give?
So one thing I can say first, monitoring, governance, and uh, safety guardrails, uh, because the first thing, monitoring now will be both in the LLM monitoring and that application monitoring. We should be able to create an application where you can be able to see how its usage, how you can be able to scale up or scale down the infrastructure based on the traffic. Whenever your application gets a lot of traffic, how can you be able now to scale it up to accommodate this? How can you load that load that traffic? So that's the monitoring part. For me, I've found it's very, very beneficial. The next part is governance. And in
Mm.
governance, now we are talking about data security, data protection, is by information safe in this application. If I've created an application, or yeah, if I've created an application for my organization, is any data that I have, let's say, for example, in my OneDrive, is it safe? Who has access to it? And this is where sensitivity levels comes in. So if you don't have access to a particular information, can you be able to access it? So governance brings the whole picture, where it protects the user, the developer, and the organization. So now that will be the DLP policies, making sure that the AI models that you use actually are transparent and everything. that people are not actually misusing it, and that will forward it. The next part is the guardrails. So setting up strong guardrails that will actually help your application to be stable. Yeah.
Awesome. Can you a little bit explain how a Azure AI Foundry integrates like logic apps, Kubernetes, Power Platform, and so on?
So how I have done this, uh, Foundry uses MCP client protocol. So this client protocol, it can be able now to connect with anything. So let's say, for example, you want to connect to Power Platform. So Foundry has the MCP connector for Power Platform. You can be able to connect it directly. Same to Logic App. So you can either connect it to Power Automate. So we have the automate in Foundry. You can either use the flow automation that is in Foundry, or you can also call the logic app using the MCP. Next, you also talked about containerization. So that's how Foundry connects with all these external applications.
When I think so a little bit uh, um, outside from the Microsoft tools and so on services, there are. Can you, yeah, I don't know, like Salesforce or so on, some other enterprise
Mhm.
solutions. How can you connect them, and
Yeah,
how can we make it security?
yeah. Actually, you can be able to connect with Salesforce from Foundry because I honestly, I'll say MCP is changing how the agents connect because now you have that routing layer. You can be able to call in any application that is outside Microsoft ecosystem. So MCP has been the biggest game changer in this. Yeah, that's what I can say about it.
And I see what also interesting topic is, I see the retrieval augmented generation. It's a big topic actually. Can you
Yeah,
explain a
it is.
little bit about the architecture in Azure?
So the architecture,
Rack?
the architecture of RAG. So thank you so much. So RAG. Uh, So RAG is the retrieval augmented generation. This is where you can be able now to actually expound on the knowledge. So how I explain RAG is, let's imagine this. So uh, let's say, for example, you left work yesterday at 5 p.m. And when you left work, let's say at that particular time, oh, no, let me not do that. Let me explain this in, okay, how can I do this? So what I'm looking for the best explanation for this. So yeah, uh, this is the best explanation of RAG.
Mhm.
So it's my explanation. So
Yeah, cool, cool.
when we were in school, we were told that, you know what, the solar system has 9 planets. So, yeah, the Mercury, Mars, Venus, Earth, the 9 planets. So, growing up, I always knew that, you know what, the solar system has 9 planets. Now, when a new kid comes and asks Edgar, how many planets are in the solar system? You see that, yeah, I'll just say, you know what? From my knowledge, I know that the solar system has 9 planets, but from the current data, people say that Pluto is no longer a planet. So that's a current information that I don't have. So it's the same with large language models, where the large language models are trained to a particular date. So let's say, for example, the GPT models, they are trained up to, let's say, 2024 or 2025. So whenever you ask a question that is here in 2026, it cannot be able to find it. So this is where RAG comes in. So RAG comes in with the new information and it updates the LLM that was trained. So the LLM was lastly trained on, let's say, the December of 2025, and there's new thing that has happened. So it will go ahead and tell it, you know what, this is the new news. So in my case, I knew there are 9 planets, and this kid comes and tells me, you know what, from our syllabus, we hear that Pluto is not a planet. So now I update my knowledge and be like, you know what? Actually, Pluto is not a planet. So
Mm,
in now organization, how does RAG work? So uh, RAG in an organization, this is where we are able now to connect with an enterprise knowledge. So we can be able, we have a lot of data in our workplace. So, and these data are in silos, so they are separated. So for me to find a particular information, it will always take a lot of time. So let's say, for example, I have a document that is in SharePoint, another document is in OneDrive, you know, another document got attached in my email. So for me to be able to access all this information, we can be able to connect RAG. So uh, this is now when I can be able now to now call the SharePoint data, bring in those information, bring the OneDrive data, bring the Outlook data, or whenever I have stored my information. So I will go ahead and ask, uh, what is the dress code in my company? And with that information, it can be able to understand the context. Because now, let's say, for example, I go to my favorite AI model and ask, what does Edgar like? What does Edgar uh, wear every day? It doesn't have that information about Edgar. So for it to know the information about me, I'll have to train it. So give it information. You know what? This is the routine of Edgar. This is how Edgar writes his book. This is how Edgar writes his articles. So now me giving this large language knowledge my data, it now uh, it can now be able to understand uh, that context. So whenever I ask what's Edgar's favorite food, it can be able to answer that. So same to an organization. Whenever we give it this organization information and an employee actually stuck, they can actually query it. So it brings us that rich content.
And I think when you have this big project, you have also select vector databases, search
Yeah.
solutions. How is your model to choose the right solutions, because there are so many included in Azure?
So now that's the indexing part. So whenever now, let's say we have data in SharePoint and we want our application to retrieve this data. So the first step is always indexing this data, and there are 2 ways you can be able to index the data. So the first one is a semantic index. So a semantic index is where you have words that are correlated. You know, one word can have a lot of meaning. So it does that. So actually is three. We have 3 ways which you can index data. So the first one is keyword. So in keyword, this is where it searches for a particular keyword. So whenever you search for, let's say, pizza, it just goes to that SharePoint connector or the index that we created and searches for the keyword pizza. And next is the semantic. So in semantic is a combination of the keyword and the semantic, so it can be able to understand. But it's not the best, but yeah, it does. So the best way to index this data, how we do it, is a vector search. So we always create an embedding using vectorization. So in vectorization, this is where now we divide zeros, and it now the AI can be able to understand it. So whenever you ask it a particular question, it goes to that vector index and brings the best response for you. So how I found it the best, we always use a combination of vector and semantic. It always produces the best result.
Awesome. And I think there, when I think about enterprise, there are a lot of, yeah, they are in different countries. Is there any option to do a multi-region AI architecture in Foundry?
Yeah, actually, I didn't talk about that. So uh, the first thing that we created using Mela, our internal AI application, was Mela was tenant-wide. So building a tenant model is always okay, not the simplest, but it's at least simple. So because everything is authenticated and yeah. So now the real challenge, so single tenant I can say is actually it's isolated. So it's the logic is simple, how it queries the data is simple. So the biggest challenge has been now creating an enterprise app. So because enterprise app you need to really care about security. How are people or how are organizations create or use this data? Are there any leakages? So we'll talk about isolation, we'll talk about retrieval, and make sure that the partitions are well. So what we did for Mela AI, creating the enterprise layer, we actually had it now do the JWT isolation, where each claim will carry the tenant ID, will carry like every information about this person. It will go and do that search on behalf of that user. So we do the OBO flow, so the on behalf flow. So this is where it can only get data that this person has access to. So the next one is partitioning, making sure that each tenant has a different partition and they cannot access any information that is in a different tenant. So building an enterprise application is challenging, but you really need to ensure that you have good governance. You have good isolation and everything else.
And when you think continuous integration, continuous delivery strategy, will you, yeah, how does it works for AI applications, especially on Azure?
So how we do it, we use the GitHub action. So we use GitHub for the continuous implementation and continuous development. So whenever a new application or we have features that we really need to add, so first thing we do thorough testing. So we have the two modes. So we have the production and the testing. So in testing, we always do testing, making sure that everything works well. So after everything uh, is given a go ahead. So the continuous integration and continuous learning, this is where now we always update the current architecture that is now running in our production layer.
And we have to talk about it, a lot of work, a lot in AI. Is there
Yeah.
uh, any good option to monitor it? I think especially on when I talk to the CFO,
Mhm.
he sees the cost. So is there any? I think financial ops or something I can monitor. Yeah, the workload and yeah, the cost.
Yeah, you can actually do that, and that's one of the things we do. So we sell Mela as an enterprise. So first, we can either have Mela. we sell it as a PAS, platform as a service, or uh, we can deploy it to our clients. So in this, when we host it on our side, now we always charge for the hosting, for the models, but it's quite cheaper. So us hosting it, it always provides cheaper terms for the client because now they will not worry about having to check every time. When anything fails, we always are on top of it and always checking up, always updating it, and yeah. So monitoring has been it's very easy to do because you can create a good application and yeah, sell it. You can get a lot of money for it.
Okay, cool. We are running out of time. I hope. Yeah, I have. I go to the hot take questions.
Okay.
Most companies don't need fine-tuned models. They need better data grounding. Do you agree, disagree, and why?
Oh, I've done both fine tuning and data grounding, but I'll go for data grounding. So I agree, because in data grounding, this is where I have full control. So I have full control of what I want my application to do. I have full control of the data that I give it and full control of the usage. So yeah, I do absolutely agree.
Yeah, last I heard AI governance models will become more important than the model quality. What impact will this have on enterprise AI strategies?
Model governance, this is always the best because now for model governance, we need to protect the user and either the user, the developer, and the organization. So for the user, uh, does he have permissions to access the can he access information that he or she or they don't have uh, the permission to do that. So in governance, we can see the usage of AI. How is it being used? Who is actually misusing this AI? How is the AI responding to the users? Is it really of benefit, or is it doing hallucination? So I will always go for model governance.
Okay, small language models will replace many expensive GTPE workloads. Which enterprise use cases are the best for, we match best for SLMs?
Yeah, this uh, talked about it, and for me, yeah, and I've said it. Small language models are the best, and because large language models or the cloud models will be expensive, and it feels like we are renting. And you know, when you're renting something, you don't have control because somebody someday will just wake up and just say, you know what, you don't have access to this, you cannot access this model. And because I want access and full control of my model with limited cost and with my own customization, I'll always go for small language models.
Okay, cool. And prompt engineering will eventually become less important than orchestrating and workflow design. Do you think this shift is already happening?
Uh, I think I disagree with that because how I can describe prompt engineering is currently everyone, I can say 80% of developer are using AI tools. So uh, this being said, uh, in my own explanation, I can say being a good prompt engineer is like being a good developer. That's my own take because a good prompt will always give a good product. So when we are using these AI applications or AI coding agents, and we give it a good prompt, it always saves on tokens, it always saves on that context, and yeah, we always get a good project or a good response. So a good prompt engineering will bring a good result.
Awesome. And now my final closing. If you're leading an enterprise AI transformation project using AI Foundry, what will be your first three priorities and why?
Monitoring, monitoring, because now my priority will be monitoring. I want to know the users who are actually using this application, uh, the frequency they are using it. Uh, I want to monitor their usage because it will protect both me and them. For me, it will protect both costs, and I can be able to quickly know whenever something is not actually doing what I want. So I honestly feel like monitoring an enterprise application is the biggest part.
Awesome. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I hope we can do another session and deep dive more in security governance and the responsible AI sometime. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much. This was a really interesting deep dive. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and I'm happy to be here.